Welcome back to Stripped, Drop Your Patterns. If you're new here, I'm Rachel J., the Connection Coach, and this is the space where we take a real, honest look at the patterns we inherited, learned, and unconsciously repeat, especially the ones that quietly sabotage our dating lives. Together, we strip that shit away. Now, if you've been with me for a minute, welcome back. Kindly hit that like and subscribe button wherever you listen. It does help the show to reach more conscious daters and expand the dating pool for everyone. Last week, we slowed things down. We moved away from fixing and figuring out and instead turned inward into the body. We began exploring what happens physiologically when discomfort arises and how quickly we're conditioned to react to it, distract from it, or make meaning out of it. Today, we're staying right there. This episode is about the practice of non-reaction, what it means to feel discomfort without immediately trying to escape it, fix it, or control the outcome. It's about noticing the urge to reach, to grasp, to push, and choosing, even for a moment, to stay with yourself instead. And yes, we're going to talk about dating, about waiting for replies, about the sensations that come up when someone doesn't respond the way that you hope they would, about how quickly your body can go into alarm long before anything has actually happened to warrant it. If any part of you knows that spiral, this episode is an invitation to breathe, to soften, and to choose a different response. Stay with me. Throw out the rules, forget the cliches. This isn't about the perfect profile or the perfect date. It's about real connection. It's time to strip away the masks, shed the stories, and drop those old patterns that no longer serve you. Tired of dating advice that doesn't fit? So are we. Welcome to Stripped, Drop Your Patterns, where conscious dating isn't about following a script. It's about embracing your whole self and attracting the kind of love that sets your soul on fire. I'm Rachel J., the Connection Coach and your host. Let's get real. Last week, I did something a little bit different with you, and it felt really good to me. So I hope that it also felt really good to you. We talk on the show a lot about the ways that we, males and females, were conditioned from an early age to perform our gender based on traditional expectations. Very simply summarized for any new listeners, girls are taught to be nurturing and selfless and to be pleasing, and boys are taught not to feel or cry, that they should toughen up and lead with their masculinity. As a result of this early and perpetually reinforced conditioning, boys and girls grow into men and women with mismatched values and barriers to communication and connection. In the first season of Stripped, we talked about different ways that these patterns show up in dating and how you can drop them. Last week, we began to explore the physiological patterns that occur as a result of uncomfortable stimulus and how you can shift inwardly to drop those patterns. So today's episode is also brought to you by my Bikram yoga practice. As a refresher, the core of Bikram, at least for me anyways, is the practice of non-reaction. Feeling the discomfort of sweat dripping in my eyes, my shirt riding up, or extreme thirst. And rather than acting on my impulse to wipe or tug or grab from my water bottle in that moment, simply focusing on my breath and allowing that moment of discomfort to pass. So, how does this apply to you? Well, think of situations in your daily life when you're prone to irritation, whether it's people being unnecessarily loud on the subway or listening to music without headphones, or someone cutting you off on the highway, or when you spend more time in the Costco parking lot than actually shopping inside. Your impulse might be to glare at the person or passive-aggressively comment or say something under your breath, yell out in frustration, or flip somebody the bird. But if you resist the impulse and instead breathe, knowing full well that this moment will pass and you'll soon be on your way, then you can keep the situation from escalating and likely affecting other people and keep the negative feedback loop from taking over your day. Those are some examples of practicing non-reaction in your day-to-day. Now let's take it more specifically to dating and when someone you've been interacting with doesn't respond maybe the way that you want them to. So a client recently shared that they've been talking with a girl, and though the online conversation has been steady, it sometimes takes her hours to respond, even though the app shows that she's online. Take a minute. Does this sound familiar to you? We have all been through this, right? And so this client is admittedly freaking out, his words, thinking that she ghosted him, but then she does eventually reply. His question was if he's doing something wrong that this keeps happening with her, or is she uninterested, or is it simply strategy and how women operate? We've covered this a bit in a previous episode, the Stop Staring at the Dots episode from season 1. And do you remember what happened with Rob's texting anxiety? It turned out that the woman who took hours to respond to him was simply in a work meeting, and that was the reason for her delayed response. She was totally excited to make plans to go out with him. So in light of this recent client question, I want to dive a little deeper into this very real, very common fear when it comes to navigating early online interest. Now, can you think of other possible reasons why this female might not be replying for hours, other than simply not being interested? Because again, in this scenario, she is still thoughtfully engaging when she does reply. I'll give you a moment. So the first and most obvious possibility is, of course, that she's otherwise occupied, just like how Rob's object of affection was in a work meeting. And remember too that being quote-unquote online, according to an app, can simply mean that the window is still open and active on her device, even though she is not. A question that I asked back to this client is how engaging his messages are to her and what is the depth of her typical responses. Because another possibility is that she has read the message, being equally as excited to hear back from him, but is either unable to respond in the moment, again, maybe occupied at work or whatever, and she doesn't want to reply with the first or most basic response that comes into her head. So she needs time to give it thought. Think about it. When you're having a fun, casual back and forth with someone, banter is easy and messages obviously fly more quickly. But if you've been having a deeper conversation, asking questions that demonstrate genuine interest, as in the case of this client, then your response is naturally going to take a little bit more time as you're responding to the new information and then considering your follow-up to keep that conversation going. And at the early stage of getting to know someone, we tend to be more careful with our words in general because they don't know us yet or our humor. And so we don't want to say something that can be misinterpreted or come off as inappropriate. Unless you're completely secure in your personality, which most people are not, typically you're going to be cautious in those early conversations before you get to the stage of meeting. Now, there is also a very real possibility that this female is waiting to respond, not because she's playing games per se, but because she's afraid of looking too eager. We've all been conditioned to view crushes who show too much interest early on as unattractive. We're more naturally drawn to what's out of reach, and if it comes easily to us, we tend to value it less. So in early dating, many people will hold back initially simply because they're trying to follow the rules of attraction. Now, when you're staring at your phone and refreshing, waiting for the other person to respond, what is your impulse? Next time you're in the situation, I invite you to notice what the impulse is. If it's sending another message right away because maybe they didn't see it, or maybe it's been a minute and so you want to get their attention back. Or maybe sending an emoji or refreshing the app or even throwing your phone against the room. Choose differently. Choose instead not to react. Breathe. Notice the discomfort that you're feeling in your body. May it be rapid, shallow breathing, or if you're getting fidgety. And simply breathe. You don't have to do anything else. Just breathe and let those thoughts of disappointment or confusion, anger, whatever they are, let them subside. Because whatever your initial reaction is, it will pass if you let it. And thus break that negative feedback loop before it spirals you and ruins your day. And remember that your energy will come through your next message, whatever that energy is. So choose the good energy. Remember that perceived neediness or desperation is going to be a turnoff for most people. So if you're in a situation similar to this client, what I recommend is that after sending a message, switch your focus to another activity almost immediately. Something that allows you to completely take your mind off of the waiting game and feel good about yourself and raise your confidence level. Soon you'll be more invested in that activity than refreshing your app. And then when she does reply, it will be exciting rather than a relief or a feeling of judgment with that thought of, well, it's about time. What took so long? Now I have to wait to reply because they did. Then we get into this whole game and nobody is then being true to what they're feeling. It's a mess. So can you feel the difference in your energy between those two responses of just, oh my God, she wrote, and finally, now I'm going to have to wait because this is the game we're playing. So consider if these are things that you do. If you read the message right away because you're excited, but then take time with your response because you're thinking of a great response or just busy doing something else and can't reply in that moment, or if you're avoiding looking too eager. And remember that we all learn the same rules when it comes to dating, and try to show the other person the same grace you'd hope that they show you. So I want to leave you with this. Non-reaction is not suppression. It's not pretending that you don't care or being chill or breezy. Non-reaction is choosing presence over panic. It's trusting that a moment of discomfort does not require immediate action. And it's remembering that connection deepens when we respond from regulation and not fear. Dating is going to give you endless opportunities to practice this. I can promise you that. Texts unanswered, energy that feels unclear, and moments where your old patterns want to take the wheel. And every single time, you get to choose. React or breathe. If this episode resonated with you today, you're really going to want to stay close. I'm putting the finishing touches on a deeper journey that I'll be releasing soon, one that builds these exact skills step by step. Nervous system regulation, emotional presence, authentic confidence, and how all of that translates into dating that feels calmer, clearer, and way more aligned. If you want to be among the first to hear about it and get early access when it drops, join my email list. That's where I share things first before they ever hit the socials. You'll find the link in the show notes below. And as always, if someone in your life is stuck in the waiting, spiraling, refreshing the app loop, send this episode their way. Sometimes all it takes is one reminder to breathe and not react. Thank you for spending this time with me. I'm Rachel J., the Connection Coach, and this is Stripped. Drop your patterns. Until next time, stay kind to everyone you meet, including the one in the mirror. Bye.